Hey friends, and welcome back. In today's video, we're going to talk about finding the right homeschool community. I'm excited to chat with you. It has been a long week for me. I am tired. As you see, I am makeup free today, but I am here. And so I invite you to grab a coffee. I have my water here, or whatever you like to drink, maybe a snack. And let's just dive into finding your right homeschool community. I think finding your homeschool community is imperative to your homeschool journey. To be honest with you, finding community is the reason why I'm homeschooling today. I doubted myself for years, did not think I could do it. And over the course of the years, I had connected with some wonderful homeschool moms that when I kind of shared with them what I was thinking and told them I'm thinking about jumping into homeschooling, I'm terrified of pulling my kids out of school, they were right there to offer me words of encouragement and tips and tricks and show me all the ins and outs of what to do for the state that I was homeschooling in. Honestly, without all of that encouragement, along with listening to podcasts and videos, I'm not sure I would have taken the plunge. I was just so in my head about what homeschooling should be. Even though I was homeschooled and we homeschool very similar to the way that I was homeschooled, I just had in my head that I couldn't do it. And so I think that this is a topic that is so important. It's one that I'm really, really passionate about. It's the reason why I started the blog. I think community is so important when you can pull people together, when you can share resources. I just think it's a beautiful thing. And I think it's so needed. And so finding your community can be a little tricky, right? Because community isn't one size fits all. There are lots of different types of groups and lots of groups in our area or whatever area you're in. I'm sure there are tons of groups. And so finding the right fit can be a little tricky. It can feel a little overwhelming too. So the area we live in right now, there aren't quite as many groups. So it's a little easier to navigate, okay, what should we do and what shouldn't we do? But when we first started homeschooling, our homeschool community was huge. And there were so many different groups and so many different opportunities. It was super overwhelming. So let's take a moment to kind of break down the different groups first so we know what we're talking about. So the first type of group that you'll see is what I would consider like a traditional homeschool group. If you homeschooled in the 90s and 80s, there was kind of just one type of group. It was a group where homeschoolers got together and they met up at parks or they met up and did field trips and different activities together. I remember in our homeschool group, the parents would pick like a unit study for us to do all together. One year we did the body, and so everybody took a part of the body and then they presented it to the group and we filmed this video and we acted it out, right? And so those are now what are meetup groups or homeschool support groups. So these are very informal groups. Some of them have consistent meetings. Others, it's kind of like, whenever we want to get together. But typically these groups meet up at parks, they do play dates, they do events together, they do field trips. Some of the groups may do some kind of unit study, but it's really low commitment and it's great for families that are looking for flexibility and something that they don't have to necessarily commit to attending week to week. Now, the next type of group, and I'm going from like kind of the most easygoing programs to ones that I would consider closer to like a school type environment. So the next one up from a meetup or a support group would be a homeschool co-op. Now these are kind of new to me because when I was homeschooling, you didn't hear that much of co-ops. It wasn't until my younger sisters were coming up and I would drive them to their co-op and I was like, this is super cool. So what is a co-op? Well, a co-op is usually where parents come together and they offer classes for kids 1 day a week or maybe 2 days a week. I know there are some co-ops that operate 3 days a week. Now, for me, when I think of co-op, I think of something that's kind of 1 to 2 days because I feel like when you get into 3 or more days, you're kind of moving more into like a hybrid school or a learning pod. So, or a micro school is another name for kind of that setup. So for me, when I think of a co-op, I think of something that meets 1 to 2 days a week. And this can either be for academic classes or enrichment and supplemental classes. Most co-ops, you're going to find it is enrichment and supplemental classes. You do have some co-ops where it is educational classes. So these would be your core courses: math, science, reading, language arts. Those co-ops, honestly, I usually put more into like a micro school or a hybrid school program. So for clarity's sake, when we're talking about co-ops in this video, we're talking about groups that meet either on a session basis or once a week, where parents come together and they're teaching enrichment or supplemental classes to their children in a group setting, okay? And those typically are a little more commitment, right? Because you're meeting weekly for a class. It's either a session, or some co-ops meet all year round. So there is some kind of commitment there. And there's usually more of a financial commitment when you're talking about a co-op as opposed to a meetup or support group. Now, our next group we're going to move into is going to be those academic co-ops I was talking about, hybrid schools and micro schools. I kind of put all those together. So there are programs. Some of them are offered through a school. Some of them are accredited programs outside of a school, where the kids come in and they take their academic classes. So this is usually 1 to 3 days a week. They come in with a teacher. The teacher teaches them, and then they take work home and they do the work at home. And so in this setup, you're following the curriculum that's set by that teacher. So you don't get to choose your curriculum. In the other two options, you would choose all your curriculum. You would do all that at home. In a hybrid school, micro school, learning pod type environment, you all would be doing one curriculum, and the teacher would provide a lesson plan that you would do at home. So that's the one I would consider the closest to school. It's a great option for working parents, I think, because it gives you a little more flexibility, as those programs are usually drop-off programs with less parent involvement. The other two programs, there's a lot more parent involvement, maybe not as ideal for a working parent. So now that we kind of know what we're talking about when we're talking about community and support, and there are things outside of groups, right? You have Facebook pages that are dedicated to homeschooling support. Those are good to get plugged into. You have local events in your library or your community and programs available for homeschool. Those are good to plug in. So we'll talk about that as well too. So when considering these groups, they're all kind of different. So how do you find the one that's right for you and select one that your family can mesh well in? Well, I'm gonna give you a few things to consider, and then we'll kind of dive into this. So the first thing to consider is, what is your learning style and the setup of your homeschool environment? Are you more of a nature-based learner? Are you more of a classical learner? Are you an unschooler? Do you like choosing your kids' curriculum, or are you okay with somebody else choosing your kids' curriculum? So kind of looking at those things and getting a feel for, okay, well, what are we already doing and how does this group fit with that? For us, we were considering some nature-based programs earlier on this summer, and I had brought it to the kids, and we all just decided that that was not what we were already doing and how the kids learned best and what they enjoyed. So we realized, okay, that those programs aren't for us. I really enjoy picking out the kids' curriculum. I like to customize their education to them. All of my kids use different curriculum that is fitting for them, and I enjoy being able to give them that opportunity. So I know that the hybrid schools and the micro schools and those academic co-ops just are not for us, because I would have to use the curriculum that the teacher provided. But you just have to look at what you want and what you're already doing and how this group is going to fit into that, because that's what's going to work best for your family. Another thing to consider is, what are your beliefs and core values? Do you want a homeschool group that is Christian-based? Do you want a homeschool group that's open to everyone? Do you want a homeschool group that's exclusively secular? So looking at, what does our family believe and what our core beliefs are important when you're considering groups. We have a lot of different options here in this area as far as groups. We are very blessed by that, right? We have nature-based groups for families that lean that way. We have classical conversation groups for families that lean that way. We have Christian groups for families that appeals to, and secular groups for families that appeals to. So you just have to see, okay, how does this group fit in with our family dynamics? You want to surround yourself around people that you have similarities to. Yes, we're all homeschooling families, but not every homeschooling family is going to want to be in a group that's eclectic. Not every homeschooling family is going to want to be in a group that's exclusively Christian. Not every homeschooling family is going to want to be in a group that's exclusively secular or anything in between. So really just sitting down and thinking about, okay, what are our family's core beliefs? What are our family's core values, and how does this group fit into that? All right, the other thing to consider is what level of commitment do you want, okay? Because we have a wide array of options. We have those meetup and support groups that are very fluid and very low commitment. And then you have a co-op group where you're committed for a time period, right? Usually a session. I know for our group it's 10 weeks. Some groups may do 12 weeks or a semester, semester style. However, you just want to look at what type of commitment you want outside of your normal homeschooling. There are a lot of groups that offer the hybrid programs where you meet several times a week. Do you want your kids, going to a program 1 to 3 times a week? Does that fit with you? Or is it better just to kind of follow the flow of your life? So looking at these things and how the group operates to see, okay, is this going to be a good fit for our family? Another thing that we like to do as a family to kind of narrow it down, because kids have a lot of interests, and when you kind of throw a bunch of different groups out at them and opportunities, because we have a lot of programs in our community that are tailored to homeschooling families, so there's just a lot of opportunities to get out there and do things. We try to narrow it down to 3 things. So I asked my kids, what are the 3 most important things to you? And we had a situation this school year. I just scheduled all of the things for fall, which is, you already know is always crazy. But we had a situation where my kids kind of wanted to branch out and explore other groups in the area. So I started a group. They want to keep doing that, but they wanted to maybe explore some other groups. And so we were thinking about joining another group as well and doing activities. Well, when I looked at our calendar, it was getting a little too full. And I am going to try to be very diligent this year about embracing the slow flow of homeschooling and not piling too much on our calendar. And so I sat down with the kids and I was like, okay, this is what we have going on. We're gonna have to make some choices. So either you can do these activities, these specific activities, because there were some that weren't conflicting, but there were specific activities that conflicted with the other group, or you can do the group. What would you like to do? And after the kids thought about it, they decided that they wanted to do those activities and maybe just stick to one group. So looking at those important things to your kids will help you kind of narrow it down. Okay, how will this fit into the flow of our life? How will this fit into our calendar? There are families that are fine being on the go all the time, and there are families that don't like being on the go all the time. It can feel overwhelming, right? Trying to get out there and find different groups and go to different things. But I would encourage you just to kind of put yourself out there, attend different groups and different events, maybe not all at the same time, but just choose a couple or a few for one season and then decide, okay, did this work for us? Did this not work for us? Do we want to try this other group? And just get out there in the homeschooling community. We have tried several different groups, been to several different meetups and participated in several different events. And I will tell you that even the ones that didn't fit into our schedule, it's just great getting out there and meeting your local homeschooling community, getting to see other homeschool moms that are within your community and talk to them. And that way, when you go to an event, you recognize them and it makes the community a little bit smaller. I encourage you just to get out there and try and at least meet the people in your homeschooling community. They can connect you to resources. They can connect you to other groups. And, a lot of times when I meet someone and I'm talking to them and I see, say they are like a nature, because we have a lot of nature-based groups in this area. So say they're like nature based homeschoolers, they are Charlotte Mason homeschoolers. I will mention to them the other groups. I'll say, hey, have you heard about this group? They meet here and they do this really cool stuff, and I think your family would enjoy it. So if anything, when you get out there and you're in the community, you're making connections and you're learning about different things that are in your homeschooling community that you can get plugged in that may be a perfect fit for your family. Something I am realizing this year, I'm going to do a video about it. We have just been in a really hard season, just being completely transparent with you. This has been probably one of the hardest seasons. Well, I'll say it's been the second hardest season of our family's life that we've had. And I was thinking about this a lot as I was preparing for this next school season. I think it is so important to have a close support group, right? You have your homeschooling community and they offer support and encouragement. But I think it is important to have 1 to 3, 4, 5 other moms that you are closely connected with, and that can really lean in when things get rough for you and be the person that can bring you a casserole, if you're feeling bad, or the person that doesn't mind watching your kids or folding your laundry or taking your child to a meetup. That is so important, and you may not have that right away, and that's okay. Lean into your larger homeschool community, but that's just something to me to be aware of and looking for. I talk to this mom regularly and our kids hang out all the time. This is a mom that's going to be in my inner circle so that when I go through the rough seasons of homeschooling, this is somebody that will pray for me. This is somebody that is happy to offer support for me and for our family. Because there will be rough seasons, and that's why I am a big supporter of community in every aspect, even outside of homeschooling. You need your people. Everybody needs their people, especially when you're a parent. We have kind of moved into a generation where family isn't quite as close, connected, and supportive as maybe previous generations. And so it's even more important now to have your community around you. So since we're talking about groups, I would love to share a little bit about my group. Just to give you a background on our homeschool group, I'll give you 6 things that are our core and foundation. So the first thing is that our group is open to everyone, no matter what your belief or your background, everybody is welcome. So that was something that was important for me with my kids. They got to surround themselves with people that maybe didn't have everything in common with them, but they have things in common with them. So they got to learn how to interact with different people from different backgrounds. I think everybody should be included in the conversation. Everybody should be included in spaces, and that includes our inclusive learning committee that we have that is put in place to help us create an environment in which families that have children with special learning needs feel like they have a space and they have a place and they have support that they need. The next thing is our group will always be committed to fostering a positive family type environment. Our group is very parent involved. We are a collective and we are collaborative. Everybody has a place and a space, and we come together and work together to make it the best that we can. The other thing is being affordable. I try my very best to make sure that every family can participate. And so for that reason, we keep our fees extremely low. I don't get paid for running the homeschool group. It is my pleasure to do it, to offer that to my children and other people's children. And so I completely volunteer my time, because what better way to volunteer your time than to pour into your kids and pour into other homeschooling families? And so that keeps the cost down. And then also for families that are just maybe having a hard time, I will do everything in my power to make sure that you're able to join in with us. So if you can't afford administration fees, if you can't afford a class fee, especially if it's my class, don't worry about paying me. Just come out and be a part of our community. We all are experiencing what is happening right now with prices skyrocketing at the grocery store and for everything. I do not want money to be a reason why you don't find community. And if that community isn't with us, that's fine. find community with another group, but everybody needs community. It's so important. We offer a wide array of enrichment and supplemental classes. And this session, we're bringing in some guest organizations that are providing teachers for classes like French or yoga. And so we're really excited to integrate these opportunities as we move into a new season, that we have a really exciting announcement coming up. I can't share anything about it right now, but I will make an announcement on our page when everything is kind of set and ready. We're starting a brand new thing open to middle and high school kids. This is open to anybody in the community. Those are the ages of my two kids, and we were talking about it, and they just wanted opportunities to have social events with friends. So we are starting a social supper society once a month. So that will take place on the second Saturday of every month. If you are interested in that, I will put that link as well on our Facebook and Instagram page. Like I said, you don't have to be a member of our group to participate. It's open to anybody. It's just a time for homeschool teens to come out, to hang out, to get to know each other. We'll gather for a meal and the kids will do an activity, and it should be a really fun time. So find yourself a community that you can thrive in. I would love to have you join our community, or I would love to help you find another community if that's a better fit. Don't be afraid to reach out. I have had the absolute pleasure of meeting a lot of the homeschool leaders in our area, and they are wonderful, supportive people, and I'd be happy to connect you with them. And don't forget to pass that on. When you have information or encouragement, don't withhold that. Give that to your local community around you. Every homeschooling mom can use an encouraging word. Every homeschool mom can always use a tip on something, or a helpful hand when it comes to raising her kids and homeschooling. Don't forget also that I post the homeschool happenings on the blog every single month. So if you just want to get plugged into some events, maybe you're not ready to commit to a group, that's okay. Check the blog every single month, and I will post all the events for that month. My goal is usually to have it up by the 1st, but sometimes it's a few days after that. And if you ever have any questions about homeschooling or needing to plug into a group, please reach out to me via email. My email address is hello@6milestogo.com. I would be happy to chat with you, connect you to a group, give you support. And as always, friends, take time to enjoy the road of life.